This conference will now be recorded.
Right. So how do we migrate on-prem jobs to Cloud PaaS SQL Server? Because where we don't have a SQL agent, in fact. So what are the alternatives we have to migrate the jobs to Cloud PaaS SQL Server? So we have multiple ways to do it. So I want to cover all of that. Just try to follow. So I'm keeping it yes because I'm going to create multiple servers and we're going to see it. So one I'll create in India, one in US, anywhere in the world, doesn't matter. So yeah. So we just need the connectivity and then you can trigger a job from one server and it can execute on all servers. It's like a centralized job. It works, like centralized job if you wanted to make it. You can run on a single server, you can run multiple servers. So we will see multiple, so single can any be directly can be explained. The process is same. You have to create the group and in the group you have to execute the job. Okay, one at least up. So I want to create two database on that, one for automation, one database we must dedicate for automation. So LabDB database must be at least standard 10 DTS to have the automation to be applied. I mean, if you wanted to use a database for automation, that must have at least 10 DTS under standard tier. Okay, I'll create one more database, another server. Class database in US server. Okay, fine. Right, we're going to see how this automation can work centrally. One single job can go and hit multiple servers in the background, or you can make it to work on a single server itself. It is something, let me explain quickly. So these are all alternative to on-prem SQL agent. You have one server, you have another server. So you wanted to deploy one database here, which you wanted to dedicate for automation, and this automation database can do the job on the local database. See, your job either it will read the data from the database or it modifies something, whatever it is. So single job can go and hit two servers and two different database. It is possible. Not only two, you can run single server across hundreds of servers if required, you know. Are you required to run only one server? Include one server only. If required to run on multiple servers, same thing, include it. So it is simple, guys. And anyway, we're going to see step by step process anyway. So first I'm going to connect. Right. So now we have two databases here, one database here. So I'm going to dedicate this database for the automation. Okay. So it is empty as of now. We don't have any tables. So I'm going to register this for the automation. So Elastic Agent Job. There is a service called Azure Elastic Agent Jobs. Here it is. Using this, we can do the automation. So this need a database to be dedicated for tracking the job status. Right now, you don't see any tables here. So when I create a Elastic Agent job, I'll use that database. So it will create some internal tables for its tracking actually. SQL jobs agent. Just I'm giving a name. Can you give any name? So here you need a selected job database here. It is asking for. So I'm going to choose the first server and I'm going to choose this AutoDB. And then that's it. Review and create. So review and create. There's no cost for this, extra cost. It is free service. That's a good thing. Because it's not taking anything except triggering the jobs. The jobs are getting triggered through a database. It's just a scheduler kind of thing for you. That's the reason they're not charging for this, which is good in fact. So if it really created, you would see some tables here which are required to track the job statuses. Okay. It's still doing the job. If it is enabled, it will create some tables in fact actually. Takes 3-4 minutes to. Okay, now you see this. So these tables are created automatically for internal job tracking actually. It is deployed. Good enough. So now I created a document, step-by-step process. You just follow it. Every query in detail it is explained here. So first, create Elastic Agent job service and use one of the database for creating the Elastic Agent job objects. So we did that. First step is over. We are on the second step now. Create a login. See, one thing you need to understand again here. So anything you are running here, you are running on the AutoDB. Okay, this AutoDB. AutoDB, if I'm running a job, AutoDB need to talk to this database automatically in the background. It has to talk to this database also. So it cannot go user-based authentication. There is no way that this can contact this and it will ask for the username password. This will give the password. It's a system-based thing, right? You have to integrate the passwords, username in the credential. In fact, we have to create a database scope credential. So to integrate that, you need a username here to talk to, right? So you have to create one common user. That user should exist here and all the targets also. It uses this user to go to the targets and talk to the target and do whatever you have to do. So to do that, we had to embed this credential inside something called database level credential. So before that, I need to create a login and user everywhere, where the automation is hitting, in fact. So I'm creating a job user login, in fact. I'm going to create everywhere this on all servers where this job is going to hit, in fact. So I'm creating this same user here, login, in fact. Here also I'll create it. Then creating login doesn't make sense. We discussed in the past model. You have to map that login to a database to get the actual execution, right? So I'm creating the owner, database owner privilege for this login and the AutoDB and all target DBs where I want it to automate. So adding the DB owner privilege as well as creating the user. So both. So everywhere I have to do it because I'm going to embed this user details in the credential and the AutoDB. So it uses this username password to talk to the target and it does the job, right? So now we are done with the second step. Whatever we wanted to do, create login and user on agent AutoDB database and with the DB owner. So you have to create that. Create the credential on the AutoDB database in Azure SQL database. This credential will help to talk to other servers. So now what I'm going to do, step is very important. Follow this. So whatever the password we have used to create the user, let me close this all. There is a password we have used. This is the password, right? Across all the servers I have used. So now if you see, I'm creating database scope credential called job user credential. It is holding the username called job user. It is holding the password also. Okay, it is using the identity. And this one, master key is mandatory. Without the master key, if I'm trying to create a database scope credential, it will throw the error. Create the master key. This actually does not be used anywhere, but it is a prerequisite. Create the master key, then create the credential. That is a interlink it has inside. So I'm creating both together. Now it is created a credential where in the AutoDB. It calls this credential when it has to talk to lab and it has to talk to class. And this credential has the username and password which can talk to these databases internally because that login has the user and DB owner privilege on these two databases. So it is kind of indirect calling. Okay. You created a credential, then you have to create the group, server group. So within that group, I'm creating the server group called SQL group. Within this group, how many servers you're going to add it, and then execute the job. Before you create the group, and you have to create the login and user and give the DB owner privilege that must be given for the account which is embedded in the credential. So now I'm creating group with the two servers, in fact, because we have two servers, right? Here a v080 database and test 080. Okay. Here it is a class. Here it is, oh, it is matching. Okay, fine. Last time also I created the same databases, it seems. See, you are created a group called SQL group. Now you're adding a member to it. Add target group member to the group called SQL group you created. And what is the target is our SQL database what we are adding, and the server name where database sitting, and the database name. These are syntax in fact. So to this group, I'm adding two servers and target database is one. You have to mention the target. So if I run a job on this target group, it goes and execute on these two databases and these two different servers. You can add n number of servers here. In fact, as many servers as you wanted in a single group. So I'm adding two servers into the single group now. Later on, if you wanted to see what are the servers added to the group, you can just use this query. Okay, you can use this query to get the details of the uh, members who are part of this group. These two servers, these two databases. Next, you have to create a job. You created a group good enough, but you have to execute something, right? So job name. It is on-prem job. You are creating the job name like this. Every job you have to create like this. Add job. It will create the job. Then you have to run the job. First, add the step to the job, what it has to do. So this is the step it has to do. So here you are adding a step to the job SQL job, and what you're trying to do, you are creating a table called lab, and you're creating a structure called t number integer t name varchar 100, and it will call the job credential on the group SQL group. SQL group has two server details, two databases, and job credential has the login name, username, which can talk to this group. And it goes and execute the command called create table. So if you go and check these two databases, it is empty. These two databases are actually empty. It does create the table. Whatever the job is doing, you have to include that here in the command area, basically. Here you don't have any table, here you don't have any table. So I'm adding this job step. In the portal also you can see this. In fact, when you create the jobs, it will display. You can see the target groups, whatever you created, a skill group, and you created a jobs, right? Here you can see the job, a skill job as of now. Did you run the job at any of the job here? No job has executed as of now. So now I wanted to execute this job, basically this job, which call this step automatically and execute. So the scripts are given in the sequential order. So now if you wanted to see that what the job is having it after creation, a skill job, you can read that what you have it. A TSQL script is embedded. This is TSQL script and it is going to run on the skill group using this credential. So it's something you have to know. And I wanted to execute the job as skill job, execute the job. If I execute this job, what happens? It runs that and run the script to create the table automatically. If I run, it has executed. Is it really executed successfully or not? You can see the status of the job using this. Even you can find in the portal also, but anyway, I'll quickly show from here. It is said succeeded. It is succeeded. Even in the portal also, if you refresh, there is a job, a skill job has run and it is succeeded. Now, if you go and check on the table, you will find the table. Come on, please. Here, dbo.lab, dbo.lab. It got created through this job, in fact. You invoked the job has executed on two servers, in fact. If you wanted to create a stored proc or anything else for that matter, let me create one stored proc. Okay, USP underscore and data feed, okay, as create table student. I'm creating a stored proc. Just some data I'm just trying to insert. Okay. Okay. So I'm just entering some data here. Fine. This will insert the data. Now update. Update what? Update student. Set as name to what? To Kumar, whatever it is. So where S number equal to 4. So Sunesh record is getting updated Kumar. Then delete from student where S number equal to 1. So what and all it is going to do, it is going to create a table called student. It is going to insert these 4 records. One will update S number 4. Sunesh will get updated with the Kumar, and first record will get deleted. So these are all operations done by this proc. So I'm creating this. I'll create the same thing on the other database also. This database. Uh, and how do we execute this? Let's see that. Right. So you already have the target group. I wanted to create one more job. That's it. So I'm going to create a job. First, I'll create the job. Job name SQL job 2. I'm making it as, okay. What could not find the store procedure. Sorry, I had to use AutoDB where I'm creating this. Come on, I had to open the new query. Which is fine. Job 2. Then where it has to execute on the group. We already have a group. So you might be having multiple groups if you want, or else you have one group and execute all the statement. In the real time one group, one server only you might having it, but you can embed n number of servers into it. So now we created a stored proc. I'm going to call this stored proc inside that. Okay. The stored proc will execute on the group. A group has these two databases, okay? And the job name is job 2. It has to match. Now I am going to execute the job simply. Right, so if I execute the job, it goes and run that stored proc. And do you want it to see that the status of the job? This is syntax again. Yeah, it succeeded, see? Which means if I go and check that database, I'll find the student table and it has 3 records. Fourth record is Kumar and first record is gone. This way, the stored proc has done the job. Here also it does this, it has done the same job because the stored proc exists in both the databases and the target where it has to execute. You guys getting it right? What I'm trying to say? Yes or
Yes.
no? That's a simple thing. You're converting on-prem job to a Elastic Agent job, nothing else. Come on. Why did I hit design? You'll find the same thing here as well. This is all about Elastic Agent Job, guys. So this is how you create the alternate solution for on-prem jobs agent. We have one more thing similar to this. So I'm going to delete this. Let's do that through the logic apps. Same thing. It is an alternative. What you want to use it is up to you. But Elastic Agent Job is good to use. But there is alternate automation which does the same job. So mostly preferred thing I would suggest is go with the Elastic Agent Job. But let us know all the avenues, what and all we can do, right? So this document I'll share it anyway. Okay. Now what I'm going to do, I'm going to create logic apps. Logic app. Here it is. Using this also, you can do the similar job what you have done with the uh, Elastic Agent, but this will run only on one server. It doesn't run across the servers. Anyway, in the on-prem also you don't run mostly one job will hit one server only. You might have a link server, that is a different story. But generally you trigger the job on one server, right? Go to logic app. I'm going to create every job one logic app. It is like that. Oh, it's not a, okay. SQL, give any name. SQL automation one. Use the workflow and consumption, not the standard. We have to go with the consumption, in fact. Okay. Where I wanted to create this, I wanted to create in West India. It's countrywide available. We don't use this much, but still, West India, fine. So now, review and create the logic app. Use the name and consumption. Use the consumption. Hit next, next, create. Right. It got created, in fact. Small service. It's simple. It is that simple, actually. So click on this. It will open the design straight away. If not, it get open here. You want it to design. Go to edit. It will open the design again. You have to design what you want to run through the job. So now this job logic app used widely for many services. In fact, we are not going to use all the functionality of the logic app. What we wanted for SQL from the logic app, that we're going to see it. I wanted to run some job which should run recurrently, okay, using the recurrent. And then on what interval you want it to run. In fact, interval every 1 day it has to run, and timing. I wanted to start time and time zone both need to be there. What time zone it has to run? You have to define it. So I'm using IST. You have to use your client where you work, whatever the client we work in the real time, right? Where is this 5:30? Right. The time format will be like this. Every day you want it to run, you have to give the year, month, date, and the time. T stands for time. At what time? Hour, minute seconds. Okay, hour minute seconds. So today is 2022 and March 29. So I'll give it 30 where it has to start, and it has to start in the night 1 a.m. 1 a.m. Okay, it'll run at 1 a.m. Right, that's all. So now a tower we gave it anyway, which is fine. Next step, I want to build a next step. Here in the next step, this is where the actual logic will define. So you search in the search, type SQL, just type SQL. Okay, you'll find SQL. So there are many things in fact we don't care about. Okay, use SQL Server, and then here you will find execute SQL query, execute stored proc. What you wanted? I wanted execute stored proc for now. Then what is the connection name? Ravi 0808. You can use the server name. Authentication type, SQL authentication. Okay, SQL server name. What is our server name where we wanted to automate? This is our server name. You have to give details. Database name where I wanted to trigger is a lab database. Where I wanted to run that stored proc, lab database. Username is Ravinder, and the user password you have to give it. Okay. Gateway we don't need it as we did not create. So create it. It will talk to the server and database. Right. Next, the server name what we created is this, and database already we picked up. And stored proc. What is stored proc? You have how many stored proc? It will display all the stored procedures on that database. We have created one stored proc. It is detected that this is what we wanted to schedule it, right? And that's all. You are connecting, and you are scheduled already here. Every day at 1 p.m. 1 a.m. It runs in the night, and it will call this server, this database, this stored proc. That's it. You're done. If I run this trigger, I wanted to run this logic app. You can run it. So it will tell you the run history here. Succeeded. It succeeded. You can see that. If I go and check here, the table I deleted. Again, it will recreate because it does the same job, right? Stored proc got executed. Now, if I go and check here, if I rerun the same job again, if I re-trigger the same thing, it will go into error. Why? It is trying to create the same table, right? Student table. It will fail. Generally, the logic will be different in the real time, but here I created a table. So if I rerun the same stored proc, it will run into error. So how do you troubleshoot if it fails? Okay, still running. It will fail anyway. The same thing actually, even if I run the same job, which was executing the stored proc here, this will also will fail. If I do this again, let this fail. I mean, we will need to look at the troubleshooting side also. This will take time to fail actually. It is running on this. See here, 1 minute it is running. It will reattempt. Try to be reattempt. It does the 3 attempts in fact in the background. In 3 attempts it is failed, then it will fail. So it thinks that okay, it got blocked or it happened something. So let's reattempt kind of thing. It takes time to get failed, so let that happen. And how do you see the failures? The same thing in the job also. This job, if I execute the same job, it will also fail because it is also calling the same stored proc. If I run it again, this will hung same way. So waiting for the execution. So here, waiting for the child job execution, and that is are in progress at the moment. This will never execute. I mean, this will execute for 15 minutes, in fact, and then fail. If a job, got stuck like this, so how do you troubleshoot in the real world, right? This job is actually got hung waiting for child process. It is not doing the job, in fact. Okay, it is retrying. It is trying to retry. So it does the same job. This got succeeded on this database. Why? Because I deleted it. But it is failed only for the one target, in fact. So let us see both together anyway. Right, it is failed. See, it's good. So 1.52 minutes, 2 minutes is executed and failed. It is executed in a very short time. If you click on this step where it is failed, it will give you the entire error why it is failed. Okay. So if you go to here at the bottom, there is already, see, there is already an object name called student in the database. So you're trying to create the same database what you already have, right? The same object what you already have. So that's where it is clearly telling the error. What is the problem? There is a already object name called student in the database. So you cannot create the same database, same object name. That's what you can troubleshoot simply. Where it is failed, you go to the logic app and then check for the fails where it is failed and check where on which it is failed. Click on that. The message will display the actual error why it got failed. In fact, okay, this way it is. Any questions? We are done with the logic app. If you wanted to run TSQL script under the logic app, you have to create one more logic app for that case. Every logic app is like a one job, in fact, here. Okay. Recurrence every day or every 1 hour, every 5 hours. You can go with the month, week, day, hour, every 5 hours it has to run. And time zone, start time, both. You can select the time zone where your client is sitting, in fact, right? All time zones are here, in fact. Give the year, month, date, and time to AM, and then next. I'll go here and look for the SQL. Right, what actions I wanted to execute a query. Where I wanted to execute, in fact. You can give the connection name, principal SQL authentication, okay? Name is test 080 server, and SQL server name, I'll execute on this one this time. Database name is class, right? Yeah, class. And the username is Ravinder. Password is, that's it. Now you select the server, you select the database, you write the script what you wanted, a query what I wanted. Okay, create table. You whatever the query developers are giving, you have to place it. But I'm doing here create table. Table name is customer. C number integer. C name varchar 100. C address varchar 100. Fine, that's all. Save it and trigger it. Now you go and check it. It got succeeded. It said. Now you go and check here. You'll find the customer table. So either way, you can achieve the same thing. Customer. And this time here, if you see the job status here, I ran it right. It'll still running. See, waiting to retry, waiting to retry. Why it is doing this? It does execute actually, in fact, multiple times to before it fails. Say SQL job 2, it is ran previously fine, but now it is running very long. It is not failed yet. It runs 15 minutes almost before it fails. That's how the Elastic Agent job is. It makes multiple attempts. Anyway, this is going to fail. We know that. I wanted to kill it. How do I kill it? With a job ID. So if you wanted to kill a job for some reason, it's here. It is going to tell you clearly the error. What it is saying. It is failed. The problem is there is an already object student in the same error. It is already failed, but it is doing the reattempt at the moment. Okay, it is waiting for retry. So we don't want. Already we have seen that the error what it is giving. So I wanted to kill it. So with the job ID, you can kill it. What is the job ID? This is the job ID, right? So copy that and paste it here. Now I'll kill it. Job ID is this actually, in fact. Yeah, this is the one you have to kill. So if I do this, it does cancel the job. You can even verify in the portal also. It is failed. Okay. So this way, you can kill it if you want a job and you wanted to troubleshoot particular job. You can just filter on that job and why it is failed, on what reason it is failed. It will write the details here. So this is something troubleshooting a job in the past model on the Elastic Agent job side. Okay. This is about the logic of automation and Elastic Agent job automation. Any questions? If not, let's discuss about managed instance. SQL managed instance. We cannot create, but I'll give the fair idea how it works. I have all the screenshots. See, managed instance is something you can restore .bak files on the managed instance, whereas in the past it is not possible, but managed instance, yes, you can do that. It's like a hybrid, we'll call it as hybrid service. It's a combination of on-prem and PaaS model, VM and PaaS model, I can say. What exactly, how it exactly actually works, let me explain the difference actually. Here you have PaaS SQL Server, you have managed instance. So we know the PaaS SQL Server, how it works. We discussed a lot on that. You will have the databases. Either you form the pool or it runs as a single database. But whatever it is, every database will have its own CPU, memory, and disk. And pool also will have its own memory and disk. From the server side, nothing is given except the features There are features which come from the server service, but compute wise, the server, it is not giving anything. Every database have its own associated CPU, memory, and disk. Okay, that's what is a PaaS SQL server. Every database level you get the resources. Managed instance is not like that. You define the power at the service level, not at this database level. Maybe I need 64 CPUs, 128 GB RAM, and 2 TB storage. This is what I'm going to create the service. All databases, whatever database you create in the managed instance, all will use this power. It's like a VM only. It's like a VM only. Within the VM, you create a VM with so and so power. You install the SQL server. All databases will use the power, right, which is coming at the server side. So you define the power at the server service level, not database level, which is like a VM. It's not a basically you don't have a control on the underlying hardware. It runs like a machine, in fact, but you don't have an access to it. It is like a PaaS model only. Backups will be automated, recoveries are also automated, and you don't have to worry about the database backups. Encryption is already will be taken care, and auto patching will be done, auto upgrades will be done, everything is done. What you have to do, in fact, as a DBA, we had to maintain the indexes, we had to look at the jobs whatever is running, and you have to go with the tuning, whatever the tuning you can do at code level, that you can do. So not too much of work, I can say. And you wanted to form the AG group with the pass, the managed instance to managed instance, you can do that. So a limited scope of work anyway on the managed instance. Pass, at least you have a little more work, but here I would say less work. Okay, this also integrate with the Azure AD accounts only, not with the on-prem accounts. The security is absolutely like PaaS model. Why? Because you don't have a control on the VM. When you don't have a control on the VM, you cannot integrate with the on-prem domain. It only integrate with the Azure AD that way. So now let's create a managed instance. I'll explain as we go on. I have the document with all the screenshots. Okay, I'll explain a screenshot by screenshot, because it's a very costly service. You cannot practice. Microsoft should have given at least small managed instance service to play around, but they did not give it. That's a very big problem what we can do. So it is even detecting my PaaS SQL server. It's a PaaS model, right? So Ravi 080 is I claimed it. I claimed actually. So it is saying that that name already taken. For what? For PaaS SQL server. It is also PaaS. Managed instance is also PaaS, and PaaS SQL server managed instance should be unique. I mean, this Ravi 0 is already taken. I'm adding some other additional number to make it unique. And Central India where I can claim. And West India I cannot create this service. See? Some regions is not allowing to create because less resources. Right. See, compute and storage, you are creating at the service level, in fact. Here you have a general purpose and business critical. What is general purpose? It's a standard, it doesn't get the great IO power, but CPU memory you'll get the what you wanted. Business critical, again, you get the premium SSDs, and storage is super fast. If you look at, see guys, general purpose, I'll make it 2024 1 TB storage, as you make it. 8 CPs, 1 TB storage, 1,24,041 rupees, right? For business critical, if I do the same thing, 8 CPs, 1 TB, 3 lakhs 24. So 1 lakh 24 to 3 lakhs 24. Look at the cost. It is triple almost. Very costly. Don't go for the business critical. It's a general purpose itself is costly, I would say. With this cost, we can run 2-3 VMs, in fact, 2-3 VMs with the best configuration. So the managed instance is not cheap. It is very costly service, in fact. Even for the people also, too many managed instances will make the huge bill. Basically, going to the VM is cheaper solution than managed instance, I would say. Here, what we are getting the benefit, no need of much of administration. Things are You absolutely have 100% data recovery. Your data is protected against corruption, and recoveries are up to the point with one click away, right? And no need to do the upgrades, auto patch, and all that. So many things, many benefits are there. So for some companies, they don't want to take zero risk. Then come to the managed instance. They are okay to pay. They don't want to take any risk. Pay more and get the benefit. That's it. That's how it is. Now, always go with the business is critical. If even if I go with a small size of 4 CP is the minimum, what is the cost? 59,000. See, there is no cheaper managed instance you can create and practice. There is no way that. Microsoft should have given with one CPU or two CPUs and at least they're given some hours to play around in the free service model, but they did not give it. Nothing comes free with the managed instance. It's very, very costly, in fact. Even if you run for one day, also you get the 2000, more than 2000. So don't do it. Just understand it. So if you have a licensing, a hybrid model, it will greatly come down. So 54 to 37, 20,000 roughly, right? So which is a 40% discount, in fact. Okay, so which is good. So backups, yeah, inbuilt backups, you wanted geo redundant or geo redundant, local redundant. It is same thing. What we created for the normal database. Okay, apply. Now it comes with the same Azure AD, Azure AD authentication. The security, whatever we discussed, absolutely applies here also. Don't worry about security. It doesn't integrate with on-prem. Okay, it only integrates with the Azure AD. And this password must be at least 16 digit, in fact. Okay, then only it will accept 16-digit password. Very strong password. It is a Microsoft recommendation. If you don't give 16-digit, it won't accept the password. Okay. Unlike pass model does not ask you the network when you are creating, but managed instance need a network when it is creating itself. It will live in local network. It will connect in local network by default. It won't connect to the public world. If you wanted to make it to connect to the public world, yes, you can create the public endpoint, enable the public endpoint. It will create the internet access to everyone. In fact, it will create a rule, and then everybody can access if they know the server name from any network. Anyway, you have to allow that from the NSG, which this network is part of, else it won't. So public endpoint you can create, but by default it is in the local network. Now, a TLS version 1.2 all the time. Security, we know the Azure Defender and all that, right? TD is by default enabled. If you wanted to bring your own license, you can bring in. Collation you can only change when you are creating it. After creation, you cannot change it. And time zone also, you can only add the time zone when it is creating it. If you create a in a wrong time zone, other servers are in a different time zone, data sync will not happen. All the servers should be under the same time zone in the cloud. That's very important point. VMs, cloud always by default UTC. All services runs on the UTC, Universal Time Zone, in fact, UTC. So UTC is the one preferred one anyway. See, here you have already managed instance running. You wanted to add this managed instance as a secondary geo replication. It is like a pass AG groups, managed instance AG groups. If I select here, it is going to be, see, you already have a primary. You select the primary managed instance. This will become secondary automatically. It will sync all database here automatically. See what it is saying. Do you want it to make geo replication? Geo replication, the server layer, in fact, which is we will call geo replication database level, SQL Server groups, passage groups, and then here managed instance always on. You can say you already have a managed instance already. It has the databases. You wanted to create this as a secondary. You select that primary. It will sync all database automatically. You don't have to worry about it. It takes complete sync on its own. You just have to select. Okay. Maintenance window when Microsoft can work on this. Review and create. What the heck? What is missing? Okay, I don't need it. I don't have primary. Right. So even if you're trying to create, it takes 6 hours here. Deploying managed instance is a long running operation. It will take up to 6 hours to deploy the managed instance. It's not simple service. In fact, it takes 6 hours to get deployed. Even if I do it, it will be online after 6 hours. And then even if I run for one day, more than 2000 rupees. So that's how it is. Too costly service, in fact. So if I come to here, managed instance, how does it look like after creation? See, it look like this. This is a test, like a test managed 08. This is a managed instance ID dot. See, PAS SQL Server will have like this. PAS SQL Server name dot database dot Windows. This is how it look like anywhere. It doesn't go with any domain integration. Server name dot database dot Windows dot net. Managed instance will have a ID. Server name dot one ID which will be given automatically dot database dot Windows. This is an extra part. The ID part is an extra thing. See, what I'm referring is this ID. So if you see this ID, 64E2E5590179, this ID, if you see, when you connect it, is managed instance. Anyway, managed instance, when you connect, it will look different. We'll talk about that. Anyway, don't worry. So now here, what I'm trying to show is show data for 1 hour, 24 hours. It's a monitoring data, in fact, CPU utilization. I did not keep it. So if you come to the managed instance, if you click on databases, you will find all databases which are created on the managed instance. When you click on the new database, the managed instance name will be picked up automatically. When you're creating database, you have to come to the managed instance and plus and then create database. That way, if it is a pass, you can select, but managed instance, you click on the managed instance, go to new database and then create a database. Okay, it like that. So when you have to restore, click on the database, managed instance, database name, and restore up to the point, whatever the point you wanted to restore. And backup retentions, again, you can give it up to 7 days by default. You have to make it a configure backup retention. We did this same way. There is no difference, in fact. Okay, uh, backup part is not showing here, but anyway, we'll see. So if you click on the managed instance, if you click on the backups, then if you click on the see, this is a managed instance, this is a database on which you are right now, and then on the database you are handling the backup retention period. When you click on the restore, it will ask you the date and time, and then click it. That's it. It gets restored. So it's like normal. So instance failover groups. Instance failover groups means our passage groups, server failover groups. So the same thing here, like edit, failover, force failover, delete. It will use a primary, secondary, see, primary, secondary, read, write, and read only listener. Two listeners will get created. This is a hybrid service. You know the PaaS, you know the managed instance, because you know the on-prem also. It is like both combination, server properties and virtual network where it got integrated, okay, locally. And then if you wanted to enable the public endpoint, you can enable it if you wanted. After enabling, who can connect to this one? Any to any, and you open 3342 port number, because this public endpoint runs with a 3342 port number. In fact, when you enable here, this option requires a port number 324 to be open in the firewall. In the inbound, it's clearly saying to connect to the server, you have to open 334 to any network. Anybody can connect to the managed instance who have the internet from the NSG and NSG inbound role. Generally, you don't open to any, but you can open it like what we have seen for the VMs. Managed instance is here, and database, you will see the database, deleted database. Even if you delete database, it will be protected, auto protected automatically. Okay, it's like pass only. But the good thing is, if you go to database properties, you can see more options. File and file groups will be given. You can create your own file group. You can create a test file group. Under that, you can add more files if you want, data too. When you're adding, it will show like CW root like this. But once it is created, it will show as a blob. All are blobs, in fact. The directory where it is creating is a blob. Once it is created, it will turn to, you can control the auto growth, you can control everything. You can string the files, you can take the backup if you want. You cannot take the backup anyway, but you can string. Backups are automated. So once it is created, this one I created, this one. So it is showing as a blob here. And you cannot add secondary log file. See, if you wanted to migrate database on-prem to managed instance, Your on-prem database have already two log files, you cannot restore. It must have only one log file. Managed instance database does not accept secondary log file. If I'm trying to add a log file here, it will throw the error. Add, remove, modify logs are not supported. Only one log file it will support. It does not support secondary log file on the database, but it will support and file group data striping. That is possible. You can add more and more files and file group auto growth. You can manage it. A lot of things here. So managed instance, you will take the backup to disk. It won't accept. Where you can take the backup, you can only take the backup to URL, blob URL. Disk is not supported. Unsupported device tab. SQL managed instance supports database to URI backup only. So URL in fact. Okay. You can check the database properties. For managed instance, there is no help DB. You cannot get the help DB and file structure and all that. It is not possible. Help DB stored procedure itself does not work here, but managed instance will work. See here, it won't give you the details. In fact, help DB does not work on the past model. In the managed instance, you can do the help DB, can get to know how many files, how many file groups you have and all that. Okay, it is possible. You can string the files if you want, log file or data file, whatever it is. If you have a free space, you can string it if you want. It is giving more control, in fact. So managed instance look like test managed public. You are connected with the public. When you get public access, you get added this public dot instance ID database dot windows dot net. This is common. And the port what you are connecting 3342 for external connection. This is called public connection. This is how it look like when you connect to the managed instance with the public access, public enabled access port, and here it is public is appended. So if you connect normal, there is no public and there is no extra port. By default, you can connect and the server name ID database.windows.net. It is like that. You see all the options almost security, server group, application management, and SQL agent. You can create your own jobs here. That is called managed instance is like on-prem. All features you'll get it. It is 100% compatible. Okay. Yeah, that's all about it. If you, I'll share this note. I mean this doc. Okay. If you look at it, you get the fair idea how we can manage the managed instance, right? So what I wanted to finish next is tagging. Let's finish the tagging. So tagging is something good. In fact, for everything we need to tag so that it will give you a lot of tracking of the environment. Right now we did not tag anything. Okay. But tagging is really good habit. You have to do it. Okay. So I'm going to here. Let's just have an idea how it works, kind of. That's why I'm doing this. I'm going to this. I have a tagging. Every service have a tagging. Okay. Here, this database example, just it is something different service assume case. Production. Production for which project, in fact. Okay. Project is CVR. Uh, what we can keep production environment. I'll keep it in reverse order maybe. Does it accept CVR? Right. Just a minute. Okay. As a production for CVR project. Uh, project CVR. Let's keep that way. Okay. Project CVR and production for CVR something. Apply. You can add a number of tags. And you go to databases again. Tag here. Test for CVR, EVR. Okay. Project Yeah. So now as you tagged and you see the services here, come to here, the tagging will show up here. So how many services you created for CVR project? So if you go with the CVR, you'll get to know like this. Production, these many created for the CVR project kind of. And if you go with the EVR, how many created for EVR project? You can see that EVR project, you have production, you have a pre-prod test servers for this environment. We can actually use for reporting purpose, especially tagging will help us for the reporting purpose. So if example CVR project uh, total, you have project CVR one server kind of. If you click on this, it will take you to that resource automatically where it is tagged, and you can click on this project server. Especially tagging will be helping us to track the cost of each project. You're tagging that resource under project, right? So when you go to here, you click on this, you can go to the cost analysis. You can filter by tagging by tagging. Project by project, you will tag every service. So altogether, what is the bill for that project? You can find with the tagging. This is a good thing actually, especially when you tag it. This is a great advantage you get it. Tracking the billing. Okay. So this month it is expecting that I'm going to get this bill. Right now, this 263 is the cost for this month. And at the end of the month, mostly this is the estimated cost based on the current usage model. So filter, if you click on the filter, I can go with the billing period tag right here. It is tag. And what? I don't have a tag anywhere at the moment. I can select the tag and then select the environment. Select the tag and environment. How much I'm spending for the this project, this environment, this project, this environment. Production, how much? Pre-prod, how much? I can easily track. Tagging must be done before it has to be done so that it will calculate already. So for this tagging, these many services created for these many hours, and this is a bill. It is going to display only for that project, only for that environment. So environment wise, project wise, we kept production and project. Environment project name. So environment wise we can track it, and project wise we can track it. Project wise is overall, environment is pre-prod and production. So that way you can easily segregate project by project. For the single project environment wise also, you can actually track the billing, how much you are paying, where you can really can save the money. So is that project really affordable to spend that much money or not? Also, the business will get to know the information. This is for the especially salespeople, even for us also for a reference where we can look at cost savings and all that. Which project is most costing, and if the project is not really affordable to spend that much money, you look for reducing the resources wherever is possible. So that way we can this tagging will help the people to track the resources cost and then make it make the savings on which you can make it actually. So tagging are really useful for cost analysis as well as for reporting purpose. This project is created with these many servers kind of thing. Okay, so that's all about the tagging. So now, any questions on SQL Elastic Agent job, logic apps, managed instance, and tagging? These four topics we covered. Any questions? If not, I'll stop.
The logic app is only